Hello students, in this video I am going to analyze a parajumble odd one out question from CAT 2020 slot 1. Let's read the directions carefully. 5 jumbled up sentences related to a topic are given below. 4 of them can be put together to form a coherent paragraph. Identify the odd one out and key in the number of the sentence as your answer. In order to solve this question, you need to put the related sentences together in a coherent manner. Identify the topic that covers all the sentences, the umbrella topic, and the one that does not relate to that umbrella topic or digresses from that umbrella topic would be the odd one out. Let us now form a paragraph with these sentences so that we can identify the odd one out, as in the sentence that does not match with the topic of the paragraph. Let us understand the meaning of each of these sentences and try to figure out the connection among the sentences. For feminists, the question of how we read is inextricably linked with the question of what we read. This is a general sentence about the feminists. As in, for feminists, the interpretation of the content they read depends on the nature of the content. Let's read the second one. Elaine Showalter's critique of the literary curriculum is exemplary of this work. Which work we don't know, probably there should be a sentence before this. Third one, androcentric literature structures the reading experience differently depending upon the gender of the reader. This sentence specifically focuses on androcentric literature and that it structures the reading experience differently depending on the gender, whether the person is a male or a female. Fourth, the documentation of this realization was one of the earliest tasks undertaken by feminist critics. Which realization? Probably there should be a sentence preceding this one. Sentence 5. More specifically, the feminist inquiry into the activity of reading begins with the realization that the literary canon is androcentric and that this has a profoundly damaging effect on women readers. Since sentence 5 begins with more specifically, there must be a general sentence that supports this idea. If you can identify that general sentence, then you can put that sentence before the fifth one, right? Now let's see. The feminist inquiry into the activity of reading begins with the realization that the literary canon is androcentric. Androcentric means centered on men. So this specifies the nature of literary canon and that this has a profoundly damaging effect on women readers. Why would this happen? We have already read sentence 1 in which it is written that for feminists the interpretation of content they read depends upon the nature of the content. Yes, in sentence 5 the nature of the content is identified as androcentric and it has had an effect on how women readers process the information that they come across, right? And it has in this case had a damaging effect on women readers. Now we are sure that 1 and 5 will come together, as in 1 would precede 5. This is clearly related here. In statement 5 it says begins with the realization, and statement 4, as in sentence 4, the documentation of this realization was one of the earliest tasks undertaken by feminist critics. This statement 4 also talks about feminist criticism, and this realization connects properly with the realization that the literary canon is androcentric, and therefore 4 should definitely follow 5. So now we can surely say the sequence of the thought should be 1, 5, 4. The sentence 2 says Elaine Showalter's critique of the literary curriculum is exemplary of this work, as in it's an example of this work. So critique of the literary curriculum could be an example of the documentation of this realization, as in one of the earliest tasks undertaken by feminist critics. And Elaine Showalter is one of those feminist critics whose literary curriculum is exemplary of this work, as in the documentation of this realization. Therefore, 2 should definitely follow 4. Now, all that you need to ask yourself is, what's the topic of the sentence? Is the topic of the sentence androcentric literature, or is the topic of the sentence the feminist inquiry into the activity of reading, or feminist criticism? What is it? The obvious answer is the topic is the feminist inquiry into the activity of reading, because all of these sentences, like the sentence 1, 5, 4 and 2, talk about the feminist inquiry into the activity of reading. Statement 3 does not focus on the feminist inquiry or feminist criticism. The focus of statement 3, the sentence 3, is on androcentric literature, and it says it structures the reading experience differently depending on the gender of the reader. Depending on the gender of the reader, as in whether it's a male or a female. But then in this case, it's very clear that the other sentences clearly focus on the damaging effect on women readers. So it focuses on the women readers. So depending on the gender of the reader gives you a clear hint that this sentence has digressed from the main point. Yes? And in any case, the topic is not androcentric literature. The topic is feminist. The topic is the feminist inquiry, feminist criticism, and therefore the odd one out is the statement 3.